Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Warning! This video is a candid exploration of the Dune universe using both Frank and Brian Herbert's novels. This video may also include discussions of violence, sexual situations, and drug use. By viewing beyond this point, you take responsibility for choosing to watch this video. All views expressed in this video are mine alone, and do not reflect any person or people, or any group or groups. Thank you, and please have a great day.
Hello and welcome to this video. I hope everyone's doing alright, I hope everyone's having fun, and I hope the universe is treating you fairly. Today's video, it's going to be another Dune video, and we're going to start to unpack the first book, Dune. We may have to jump back and forth through some things to get a better understanding for those people that are non-readers. Sorry about that. I slide in this chair. It's weird that way, but we're going to start unpacking Dune. Hopefully in the first two videos I covered enough stuff that some of this you don't have to do a lot of questioning or a lot of your own research, or maybe if I'm really lucky, it'll stimulate you to do your own research and possibly read the books. Dune is one of those books that is just, it's dense with information. It is dense. I've said this in other videos, you could probably do a movie, a 3 to 5 hour movie on each chapter of Dune. There's that much world building. We have Paul Atreides. We'll start Paul. Paul Atreides is, at the beginning of this book, he's 15. He's had the kind of childhood that causes severe trauma, because he never had a childhood. From the word go, he's been training his mind in the mentat ways. He's been learning how to fight, heroically and honorably with a sword. His mom's been training him in the Bene Gesserit ways. And Paul really has no friends. Plus he's been having dreams about a super hot desert woman. So let's just say that Paul is in line for some serious mental health issues. Or possible. Well, if Paul Atreides was real, he would be looking at probably some really, really serious mental health issues. But that's Paul. This is where Paul's starting position on the board is. We have Lady Jessica, who is Duke Leto, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I pronounce it all three ways interchangeably, like I do Harkonnen or Hakonnen or Harkonnen. But this is Lady Jessica is a Bene Gesserit sister. She's not a Reverend Mother yet. She hasn't taken the Water of Life. She is the concubine to Leto. And he took her as a concubine because and instead of a wife, in order to have himself in a position to have a political marriage, to either elevate somebody from a lower house or elevate his house even higher than what it is, which is probably a bad thing at this point. Well, where his house is in the standing in the Landsrad, which is the kind of the greater houses of the Landsrad serve kind of like a House of Lords or the Senate. The minor houses work kind of like a House of Commons or a House of Representatives, and they kind of keep the Emperor in check. The Emperor, though he has power, he has legislation power, he has imperial power and stuff like that, is kind of beholden to the Landsrad. That's the reason why so much stuff in this novel gets done. You know, it's done on the QT. It is shady. Duke Leto is real popular with most of the houses, the greater houses, and a lot of the minor houses. And Emperor kind of perceives this as a threat. Even though he loves Leto like his son, the Emperor's not above taking him out if it means retaining his own power or strengthening his power base. Which brings us to Irulan. Irulan is the Emperor's daughter. Irulan is the one Irulan is the one documenting these stories. This story and Messiah and Children of Dune. Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, and Dune. Irulan, we're reading her documentation. Her flawed but subjective view of what's going on. Because Irulan wasn't there for all the nitty-gritty, she kind of had to fill in the blanks. So Irulan is telling it's her documentation. And the story is actually being read or taking place, thousands and thousands of years afterward, after all 6 books. Irulan has nothing to do with God Emperor Dune, Heretics, or Chapter House Dune. Heretics Dune, Chapter House Dune. But the first 3 books is her doing her best job. Like I said, it's flawed because she doesn't know. She wasn't there and doesn't have first-hand knowledge of everything. And I think that's kind of how Frank Herbert kind of justified the inconsistencies a little bit. Because writing this massive, the 6 books is a massive collection, but the first 3 books, they're still massive. Even though Dune Messiah comes across as more of a prologue to Children of Dune, kind of like The Gunslinger is a prologue to The Drawing of Three in the Stephen King Dark Tower universe. But the Irulan, like I said, Irulan, that's her job. She is documenting. She becomes Paul's wife later, and that gets really weird and really fucked up in Dune Messiah when we get there. But that's basically where she starts at. Now we go to the Emperor Shaddam. Emperor Shaddam is he doesn't have the world's best self-confidence. If he did, he would understand that Leto wasn't going to try to overthrow him, that Leto was a loyal subject. But because of his insecurities, probably some inbreeding, as happens in monarchies and empires, a little bit of inbreeding going on. He's got a he's real fragile. His ego is real fragile. And that's kind of where he's at. Then we have Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, who is a ruthless, pedophilic psychopath. Maybe a little necrophilia coming on in there. He's a work of art. Then you have his two nephews, Fade Rotha, who's just a psychopath, rapist, but compared to his uncle, not as grotesque. He's grotesque. Probably dabbles in a little bit of necrophilia, maybe some pedophilia. So yeah, he's just slightly, and I mean slightly in the very, very literal sense, very literal definition of slightly less of a weirdo than his uncle. Then we have the Beast Roban. He's just a straight out sadist. He's dumber than a box of rocks. And that's actually insulting the rocks. And he's easily manipulated. And we have some important characters. There's more supporting staff, and that's Gurney Halleck, who is like the world's greatest balisette player. Balisette is a real world instrument. It's akin to the Zatar. And he's supposed to have like a songbird's voice. Like one of those voices is, wow, beautiful voice. And he is Leto's Master of War. Now we get to, well, another thing on Gurney before we move on real quick is Gurney is supposed to be a horribly disfigured, horrible monster of a man. Like somebody took ground beef, molded it into a face, left it out in the sun, and put some raw eggs on it. He's not, because of the description in the book of how horrid he looks, there's been no attempt to make a book accurate Gurney in the movies. Sorry, but you know, it is what it is. We have Duncan Idaho. Duncan Idaho is a sword master. He's the badass. He is probably the closest thing to a white hat good guy that we have in this entire 6 books. He does the right thing because it's the right thing to do. He's fiercely loyal to the Atreides. And we have Mentet. Huey Fufort. It's just not coming out. He's the Mantet. He's an assassin Mantet. He's been trained. His computer brain has been trained in the ways of war, assassination, as well as planning a dinner. You know, he can do it all. He can annihilate your enemies and plan a nice dinner for your friends. You know, he can do it all. Then we have Dr. Yui. Dr. Yui is a Sikh doctor. And because of his Sikh training, he is adversely loyal to the Atreides. These are all the pieces on the board. Now, what happens is our boy Vlad, Baron Vladimir, Vlad convinces the Emperor that, you know, that Leto guy, I think you want your job, man. And so he manipulates them and goes, look, here's what we'll do. So we'll let them have Arrakis with the sand and the worms and the spice and the money that comes with that. Then we'll run an end game on them, fuck them off, and you don't have to worry about the Atreides. You don't have to worry about Leto or Paul or Jesse or any of these people coming in and taking your shit. And Shaddam having, you know, like I said, insecure, goes for it. So that happens. We find out that Huey, even though he was a Sikh doctor and his wife was a Bene Gesserit, his Sikh training was broken. Sikh doctors are trained to be fanatically loyal to whoever employs them. But with the torturing and capture of Huey's his wife, they snap his training, they break his brain. And we know from the word go that he's going to betray the Atreides. We know this. We know this from the word go. That he's got it out for the Atreides. Or he's going to betray them. He feels bad about it. In fact, he tries to give himself up, but he can't. He throws little subtle hints. We get a lot of internal dialogue with him going back and forth on it. But he does come up with a plan to get the Baron, because he knows the Baron is untrustworthy. He knows the Baron's going to back out on his word, probably murder him, but it is what it is, and the story has to happen. Now, something that occurs in the book that really hasn't been touched on in other media is there's a dinner. The night that the Harkonnens attack, before they attack, the Atreides throw this lavish dinner. And this is where we, the readers, start putting stuff together that the Harkonnens were getting ready to hit hard. It's wonderfully done. interplay between Paul, his mom, his dad, the guests, Leah Kynes, all these people. I forgot to mention him earlier, but we can circle back to him. But this interplay, this distrust, this who's manipulating who's trying to throw who's trying to throw who under the bus, who's trying to cut the other people off at the knees so they look tall, and it's just a wonderful scene in the book. But it only appeared they tried to do it in the sci-fi miniseries, and they did. For the budget that they had to work with, they did a good job. That TV series, they did a decent job. But the Lynch movie and the Villeneuve movie did not cover it. They go from Atreides taking Dune, Yui's betrayal, Paul and Jessica getting thrown out to the desert. Paul and Jessica Leto, Yui drugged them all at the dinner or shortly after the dinner. And that's the reason why they were so easily captured. Now we have Piter de Brise. He is the Harkonnen Mantat. He is what is known as a twisted Mantat. His Mantat morality training was broken by the Talaxu, and Piter de Brise is probably even more of a sicko, psychopath, weirdo than the Baron. The way Frank Herbert writes this is he tells you about the gross, sick things and innuendo that what the Baron did, and simply tells you, yeah, de Brise, you take all this stuff the Baron did, he does that before breakfast, before he gets going good. So yeah, he in all of the both of the movies, the Villeneuve movie and the Lynch movie, he doesn't get the credit that he needs. He doesn't get the screen time that he should. He is kind of glossed over. They do in the science fiction, in the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries, they do a decent enough job with them. But this sick psychopathic bastard, the audience needs to know about it. It helps build the Harkonnen world, the depravity, the sickness that the Harkonnens have sunk to. I'll go ahead and we'll get into Jessica and Paul being sent out to the desert to die. Then we'll kind of wrap the video up here. Then we'll finish out Dune in the next video. So the Harkonnens attack. The Villeneuve movie, I really like how they portray the attack, how the bombs come down really fast and then slow down to penetrate the Atreides shields. Then they blow up, and because of the force of the impact, the explosion is contained inside the shield, so it's even nastier. I think Villeneuve did a good job on that. It's so we get all that. We get the Harkonnens. They attack. They capture Paul and his mom. The Breeze is talking about all kinds of, and a lot of it is innuendo, and a lot of that is relying on your imagination and what you've read about him before. He wants to do some really disgusting things with Jessica in a very sexual manner. And basically, the Baron Harkonnen of all people is like, look, dude, you need to cool your jets. We promised the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood that we wouldn't kill these two. We're going to shoot them out. We're going to put them out in the desert, and they're going to die out there. But I can honestly tell a truthsayer, I didn't kill them, and we'd be good. So they do. They put them on an ornithopter, which are these beautiful. In the book, Villeneuve does a damn good job. Lynch, not so much, but Villeneuve had the technology to do them well. These beautiful dragonfly looking things. In fact, in the second Dune movie, there's lots of the ornithopters in the final battle. And what Villeneuve did is he got a hold of one of the military bases that had a lot of the Apaches and Cobra helicopters, and they put the little motion capture dots on them. Then they had them fly combat maneuvers and stuff. And they recorded it all. Then they just put the ornithopter skin over top of it. So that's the reason why you get these beautiful, majestic turns and flops, or not flops. They flit in. They do all this real, and it looks so natural. And looks so authentic because it is. It's basically rotoscoped Apache attack helicopters. But so, getting back to the book, they load Jessica and Paul on a Harkonnen ornithopter. They gag Jessica because they know she's been a Gesserit. They know she has the voice. They don't realize Paul has been trained in it. They get flying out in the desert. Baron sends one death pilot, so the voice won't affect him, and two regular pilots. Basically, they're going to go drop them off in the desert, then return. But what those guys don't know is once they drop Jessica and Paul off in the desert and they're on their way back, they're going to get shot down. They're going to get killed, so there's no witnesses. Baron is kind of covering bases. But Paul convinces the Harkonnens to remove his mom's gag. And this is beautiful how this translate this they kind of did it okay in the sci-fi miniseries, but they don't really do it. They kind of blow through this real fast in the Lynch movie. Using the voice in the book is like, hey, big boy, you want some of this? You can have it. All you have to do is just make sure, your homeboy over there, you can't take him out because he wants it too. And she's doing that, and that's what Paul's hearing. But the undertone is, if you kill your buddy, you can have sex with me. And what his buddy's hearing is, if you kill your buddies, you can have sex with me. So the two guys that are able to hear wind up killing each other. Paul gets free, I believe, first, and he kills the death one, and they make their way out. Paul's immersion in the spice like that starts to awaken his prescience. He realizes that his mom's pregnant, and she is the daughter of Baron Harkonnen and Helena Gaius Mohim, the Reverend Mother that trained Jessica. So yeah, and this is, we're going to leave off this video is running kind of long. We'll finish Dune in the next video. And until next time, everyone, be a good human, be good to other humans. Peace.
Hey, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?